28. The final 28 days before election night are here. Now we are upon the final minutes and hours before election night, and the season finale is upon us. In the last 28 days, we counted out the last 28 days before election, and tonight we find out who will be your new president, who will be your new senators, but we already know what could be happening with stimulus. If you're tuning in right now, you're watching both a live and tape-delayed version of this recording. And let's get to it. This is the season and series finale of 28. Hey, good morning, everybody. This is 28, the series finale, and you may be watching this both live and taped for the first time ever on this channel. Yes, we're doing it high-tech, low-tech, and no-tech today. Throughout the day, you'll be seeing both live and tape recordings as we present you election results. If you're not already subscribed so you don't miss a taping today, go to the Fun channel and subscribe so you are up to date by the minute. We'll also be changing our programming schedule today. More about that later in this recording, and also like this video. It helps in the algorithm. In this recording, I'll be going over what Wall Street's saying about your stimulus going into tonight's election results. What they're looking for stimulus both from Congress and from the Federal Reserve. We'll be going over numbers, routing, and more, and items like that. Then, of course, because this is election night, I will be detailing a big new report that says tonight's results could be dependent upon 3 states. Yes, really 3 states. And finally, what should happen tomorrow for your stimulus and this week for your stimulus. Incredible, great news. And with that, let's get to the breaking news. The breaking news is that we are hours away from seeing the first poll results across the country. And as detailed earlier on Mornings LALATE, today we will be doing something different. I will be going both live and taped. So when an event, I will keep a live camera on set this evening so that you can see me or see an empty set because I'm going to pull the data. And then I'll tape when we have election results that come in. For example, if Kansas announced their new senator, I will sit on set and start to deliver those incredible results. But we already know what to expect for stimulus. And let me get to the breaking details. The breaking details is that the bond market is singularly the most important indicator to look at for stimulus right now. The bond market has been trading up slightly because ultimately stimulus is done by debt, and the debt is done by the bond market because the bond market looks at the 30-year treasury. Wall Street is saying that stimulus is coming. They are absolutely adamant. So it's not a question of yes or no. They say it is coming. The question is how much? And over the last 28 days, we've wondered why neither presidential candidate has given you clarity about stimulus. Ironically, before this election cycle started and before the series has started, they said across the country that the number 2 issue among voters is stimulus. And yet neither presidential candidate gave us any clarity of what their stimulus policy will be. President Donald Trump has said going into the final hours before the polls is that he wants to give you a more generous check. He wants to give you a bigger check. So has he come true with that? Well, let me go over the details. In the weeks right leading up to tonight's results, President Trump told Steve Mnuchin, his chief negotiator, to go higher. And Mark Meadows confirmed that the president offered a larger stimulus check than a prior offer that Steve Mnuchin gave. So where would that land according to those indications? Those indications suggest that the stimulus check would be a single one. It would be more than $1,200 for adults. It would be more than $1,200 for adult dependents on SSDI, SSI, and Social Security benefits. And it could potentially be more than $1,000 for children. This would likely suggest that the check might be upwards of about $2,000 as a single check for all adults. This is incredible great news because if you're on SSDI and SSI and Social Security or railroad benefits, you didn't get a stimulus check if you're a dependent the first time around. This time you would, and it would be likely, according to Mark Meadows, bigger than $1,200. This is also really good news for children who got a mere $500 stimulus check the last time around or something like that, and this time could be passing over $1,000, maybe approaching $1,200. Now, the issue of multiple stimulus checks. Has the president done that on his platform? Well, yes. Steve Mnuchin has represented that the president would do multiple stimulus checks, not in the same bill, but over time, separate bills for separate purposes. But those concerns confuse a lot of viewers, including myself. We were told we would have not one, but two bills from the Republicans in October. We saw neither from the White House. We were told that things would be separated. We didn't see those either. So ultimately, the question is, where would that second stimulus check come? That's where Wall Street steps in. Wall Street believes that either elected official will have multiple stimulus checks, bigger stimulus, and two stimulus rounds. Let me explain the two stimulus rounds. First, the issue is there needs to be a stimulus round for the current period of May to now. This is called the second stimulus. The question is when it comes. It would include grants, rent, money, food, stimulus checks, loans, mortgage protection, rent eviction protection, all that and more. That's to bring us up to the present. But then what happens in the winter? Well, Wall Street certainly keyed in to the number of COVID-19 cases, 100,000 a day. And they say you need more stimulus. You need stimulus in December, January, February, March. Both political candidates' parties have stimulus packages that expire in December. So with that, there's expected to be a more robust third stimulus package that would carry you to March. You know, Chris Cuomo was asked a doctor last night on camera a very good question. Both candidates have the same medicines. I mean, they both are dealing with the same therapeutics and the same vaccine. So what's the difference between the two candidates? And ultimately that impacts your stimulus because there will be no vaccine and no therapeutic in mass quantities before February. Hence, you need FPUC, which expires in December. Hence, you need eviction moratorium and mortgage forbearance, which expire in December. You need stimulus checks, and ultimately, both candidates need to do it. Now, when we turn to the Biden camp, they have been literally silent on the amount of stimulus. Biden has indicated he'll have a $7 trillion package next year, a relief package to create jobs, but it's not a stimulus package. Senator Harris, his VP running mate, co-authored the incredible bill, which has been the topic of discussions and has been applauded by the viewers of this channel for weeks. That's $2,000 a month for 6 months until the pandemic improves or till unemployment goes down. But as I have reported, as broadcast news reporters and others have suggested, from the moment in which she was tapped as the VP nominee, she has not talked about the bill. She talked about it extensively during her run for presidency. It was a Democratic bill introduced to the Senate, and it was slightly progressive because it was larger than you had seen for other proposals at the time. And it suggests that the checks continue until the pandemic goes away or unemployment goes down. Well, neither event has occurred because ultimately the important issue is that $6,000 or $7,000 has accrued, $12,000 has accrued, and yet you haven't gotten anything. Moreover, the unemployment rate hasn't improved enough to go away. And the other issue is the pandemic's not going away as well. So would there be a more robust second stimulus check or multiple stimulus checks? And then how about the third stimulus package? Well, Wall Street is dealing with it accordingly. And Wall Street today is trading up. Why? Because Wall Street says that there are several factors that they was looking at last week for the downturn in the economy. And today, those several factors are already embedded in the expectations of Wall Street, but stimulus is still being shouted about loud and clear. Why? Because we don't have clarity about stimulus. What Wall Street does, to make very simple, is they make themselves very loud and clear. They're generally correct. And when they feel that they have reached a clarity on the subject or they have embedded the risk into the markets, they move on. They do not think that stimulus has been cleared and fixed accordingly, as you know and I know. And so the downturn of the stock market last week was because of election uncertainty. They think that the election is no longer uncertain. Second, because of contested elections, they generally believe that they have embedded the risk of contested elections into the pricing of the market. Third, spikes of COVID-19 cases. Yes, it went to 100,000 cases. Yes, Chicago, El Paso, and Newark are on now what's called not a lockdown, but curfews. But Chicago's facing a lockdown because they're at 7.1%, and if they go to 8% infection rate, they will go on lockdown. But Wall Street says we've embedded that into the risk of the market. What it has not done is embedded the risk of stimulus because they're shouting loud and clear, get it done. So what could happen in the next day or two? Well, there's a couple Senate races that are out there that are really key and important. And what's important, as you'll see throughout today's recordings, is that ultimately the presidential race does not determine your stimulus. It's the Senate races. The Senate races are singularly going to be the most important thing that you need to watch on today's recordings because in the 28 days which I counted down the election, we've talked about a lot of stuff. We talked about executive orders. The president chose not to do executive orders. We've talked about the Senate coming in and doing a bill that mirrors what the president had wanted. They never did it. And so as you start this afternoon, you see that Mitch McConnell never drafted a bill which mirrors the intentions of the White House. He drafted his own bill, which was not the party of Trump. What's important to understand is that many of the electoral analyses tonight will talk about the Republican Party as the party of Trump. But McConnell's bills that he put in for stimulus were not the party of Trump. They were outsider ideas. They were of the 20 Republicans that didn't want to give stimulus. And so they were big bailouts to states, no stimulus checks, outsider ideas, not moderate or even, a Trump-like Republican ideals. They did not embody the Trump motive. And so then the question is, what will happen tonight? When you turn to the presidential races tonight, what we're going to be looking at is apparently, possibly, 3 states could determine the presidency. A new GOP pollster, Frank Lutz, appeared on CNBC this morning, and he said that the presidential races are going to be determined by 3 states: North Carolina, Florida, and Ohio. Yes, this is a GOP analyst, and he says that if Biden wins one of the 3 states, he wins, and if Trump wins all 3 of the states, he'll win. Biden holds a slight lead over Trump in Florida and North Carolina, says the pollster, but the survey did not include Ohio. But Lutz believes that Ohio, North Carolina, and Florida are so critical because they may have results by early Wednesday morning. They're offering a glimpse into Trump's overall chances to win a second term. Last night, Trump was in North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan, and on Monday, Biden was in Ohio and Pennsylvania, CNBC reports. I think that's not going to be resolved in 24 hours, says the pollster. I don't think it's going to take to December 1st. I do think it's going to take 2 to 3 days, and people may get the wrong impression based upon votes counted early. This is quite interesting. Wall Street has dealt with that issue in the last few quotes. They are concerned about whether the contested elections and the election uncertainty is a 1-day thing, a 2-day thing, or a 2-month thing. We all know that Georgia, they have to count the posts. They have to count the ballots. If there's a runoff, and the runoff could be January. In Georgia, they need 30% of the votes. In Georgia, they have to get 50% of the votes to win. And if they don't, they go to a runoff in January. That is a concern. Then in Pennsylvania, they don't count the ballots until tomorrow. That's a concern. Ultimately, these things are concerns when the races are wide. If they're not wide, then you may see a winner tonight. Bonds were down because of concern over the amount of debt that's going to have to be issued to fund the stimulus program, said an analyst on CNBC yesterday. So in essence, when the bond market trades up, that's good. It means that the stimulus is likely coming right now. Jim Cramer explains that the market tries to make it simple. I know this sounds simplistic, but the market is simplistic, said Cramer. We always try to make something sort of basic. And he says that, everyone's exhausted with this election, and that we all sort of want it to go away and be resolved. This is amid news from Dr. Scott Gottlieb, the former FDA commissioner who now warns 1,000 deaths could be coming overnight. This amid the concerns about Chicago, El Paso, and and a city in New Jersey. And as to the Senate races, Netflix, Reed Hastings and his wife, Petty Quilliman, donated an enormous amount for the Senate Majority PAC races to ensure that the GOP loses in Maine, Texas, and Iowa. Going into tonight, by the way, of course, as you know, the Democrats have a 53-47 deficit in the Senate. And so they're trying to pick those up. Let me go over some incredible comments and questions from yesterday's recording. Dennis, keep it up, Purple Power Caucus. LALATE is here for us. Amen. Karen Troop, the Lord is aware of what we're going through. Christina, we are the Purple Power Nation. We'll get our stimulus checks. Maryland, the virus is getting bad in Ohio and West Virginia. The schools are closing or cutting down. Paul Peterson, I need to get this push. Politicians aren't. Elliot Gregory, remember unemployment numbers are down only because people have exhausted benefits. Yes, that's a great point. A lot of people have exhausted UI, so now they're on PUA, and so they do not appear on the UI, on the unemployment numbers. Again, these are new unemployment claims, so it does not tap into existing unemployment claims. K, we need executive orders. Remember, the president could do executive orders all the way up into January. L. Harris, LA, we should have an election party tomorrow, and we should have a live chat. Guess what? We're having one right now. And I think it was L. Harris that made the suggestion. I would love to chat with you and the Purple Power family. Well, I will be on live all afternoon. You may not see me on set, so I will come back onto set when something happens. Geraldo Rivera, good afternoon, LA and Purple Power family. We need stimulus and we're suffering. Stephen Smith, we need executive orders, Mr. President. Michelle, we need our checks and not just $1,200. Debbie, I won't be here tomorrow. I have to vote. Okay, but then come back in later. DS, neither the fanatics or the faint-hearted are needed, from President J.F. Kennedy. Sally Warner, LA, your spirit casting the brightest days of my life. Thank you for the Purple Power. Love you, Purple Power shirts, etc. Smile. And Billy J. Woods with a comment as well. In the live chat, wow, 642 people and 193 chats. Justin, I'm from Wyoming County. Debbie, Talia, The Prince, Peace, Robert, No Media. Really a great group of people already in the live chat. Christina, Chuck, Melissa, Michael, and then another Michael Whelan, and then Michael Brashford. So a lot, and then there's more coming. John, Sarah, Jerome, Ebony, Eileen. Hey, Sarah. Hey, Ebony. Hey, Trina. And some more faces come in. Clemens, Don, another Mike, Adrian, Oshani, Andrew. Really great questions. I see a lot of comments about executive orders. Ultimately, let's remember that the president is still the president tomorrow. Stefan, Jelly, Tiffany, Contessa, and Missy. Well, thank you for this live taping and tape recording. Again, if you did not catch the announcement earlier today, later on, afternoons LA will tape normally, but then after afternoons LA, as we go into the evening time on the East Coast, I will be both live on set and taped on set. So I will be keeping the camera, which you see the top camera, live on set, whereas the taped camera will go offline. And when a major announcement comes, I will come on set. You'll see me come on set, go live with a live announcement, and then tape for those viewers who missed the live announcement. For example, Kansas senatorial race is announced. Maine's senatorial race has been announced. Results have been announced, and such. As always, stay informed, stay smiling. Go to the Funniest channel, subscribe if you've not. You see why we're changing it up. We're going to have a lot of fun. 652 people in the room chatting live right now on the live chat. And also like this video. It really helps with the algorithm. Coming up next is Afternoons LA at 3:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. As always, stay informed, stay smiling, and stay LA for more.